Welcome back, Cardboard Warriors. How's everybody out there doing today? So I wanted to go over a upgrade I did to the new 2021 Pioneer Challenger deck, the Mono Red Burn. I actually upgraded it to Modern, so I could use it in a Modern tournament, because we don't have any Pioneer tournaments in my area right now. So we got Modern every Monday night, so I've been doing that once in a while. And I decided to just kind of see what I could do to upgrade that Pioneer deck into Modern and see if it would work. I ended up going 2-2 with it because I didn't really have any time to play test it or way of play testing it against other decks in the meta there. So I could have done a lot better if I'd been able to play test it and tweak it a little bit more. But I just want to kind of show you guys what I did. It's a pretty inexpensive upgrade to this deck to make it into Modern. And then only a couple mythics that you can easily swap out for something else because they're not that necessary. So anyways, let's break in here. So what I kept from the Pioneer deck was the Monastery Swift Spears, of course, because haste prowess 1-2, huge. But they are kind of the weaker point in the deck. I actually think I might break down, at least take one of these out and put another Soulscar Mage in. Soulscar Mages, I kept 3 of them in there, but I'm thinking I'm going to go up to 4, like I said, and take one of the Swift Spears out probably. And then the other things I kept was the Light Up the Stage. This card is incredible. The spectacle cost for 1 is huge. And in mono red, hopefully you're getting some damage through every turn, so you can actually get that for a spectacle cost. I kept 3 Bone Crusher Giants in the main deck, but I ended up using these as my kind of sideboard fodder. I would pretty much take these out to put in the sideboard cards after the first game every time. What I added was lightning bolts, because they're legal in Modern, so I put 4 lightning bolts in there. And I added 3 Play with Fires. This is from Midnight Hunt. These are pretty cool. They're a shock, but they let you scry one if you hit a player with it. So a lot of times what you'd do is you'd end up hitting the player. If you can't attack, you'd hit the player with the Play with Fire, do 2 damage to them, scry 1, and then do the Light Up the Stage for a spectacle cost. That way you can actually scry before you exile the cards, so you can kind of filter out the fodder a little bit more there. But the other things that I added in was, because there's the wizards with the Soulscar Mages, I ended up also adding in the Dreadhorde Arcanist, which is a wizard as well. And this is just a card that I came up with a really cool combo for that I love. And that is, because it's only a 2-drop, usually on turn 3, or maybe sooner, and I'll show you how I can do that sooner. The Dreadhorde Arcanist, if you're not familiar with him, he's just a 1/3, but he's got trample. But whenever he attacks, you may cast target instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost less than or equal to Dreadhorde Arcanist's power from your graveyard without paying his mana cost. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So if you got like a lightning bolt in your graveyard and you attack with him, you get a free lightning bolt. You get to reuse that. Basically gives everything in your deck free flashback, or in your graveyard. So that's a sorcery or instant. So anyways, what I do is I cast the Dreadhorde Arcanist, and I either slap on a Samut Sprint, which is just an amazing card. I'm surprised it's not getting more play. Target creature gets +2/+1 and gains haste until end of turn, and you get to scry 1. So you put the Arcanist down, you throw this on him, he becomes a 3/4 with haste, so you can attack with him right then. You get to scry 1, and then you actually can recast the Samut Sprint by attacking with the Dreadhorde Arcanist, and give him another +2/+1, and get to scry again. So if you bottomed the card, you get to look at the next card again. Otherwise, it's just extra scry that you don't need. But that guy right there, this Samut Sprint, great combo with the Dreadhorde Arcanist, because like I said, I mean, you can recast the Light Up the Stage, because he's got 3 power, so you can do the Light Up the Stage for its 3 mana cost. You don't need the spectacle cost from the graveyard. So great combo there. The other one I added in to really spice up the Arcanist is this Kick in the Door from Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. This card, it's just so much bang for the buck for 1 mana. You put a permanent 1/1 counter on target creature. That creature gains haste until end of turn and can't be blocked by walls this turn, and venture into the dungeon. The dungeon I use is actually, let me find, I didn't actually pull out the dungeon, that was kind of stupid. There it is. I use the Lost Mine of Phandelver dungeon with it because basically it lets you scry 1. So you also get to scry 1 with the Kick in the Door on the first time, and then of course the next time you can either create another 1/1 goblin or you can create a treasure token if you need mana. So I mean, any one of those is just awesome. It's not too often in mono red you get to the 3rd or 4th level, but if you do, again, you get a 1/1 counter, or you can gain and drain for 1, or you can give one of their creatures -4 until end of turn, and then your 4th one, you get to draw a card. So all these are really, really good for a mono red deck. So I use the Lost Mine of Phandelver with it. So this Kick in the Door, I mean, Dungeons are a kind of cool mechanic, but they're very pigeonholed into that set. However, they do work as extra abilities with this Kick in the Door that I'm using it to get the counter and the haste anyway on the Dreadhorde Arcanist. So by doing this one and getting that venture into the dungeon also, I also get to either scry or create a red goblin. You know, there's all kinds of extra stuff I could do with that. All right, now how I get that faster than turn 3 is I've got my good old Manamorphose, which helps you draw cards, and it's just an extra free instant spell. So you can pump up your prowess creatures, the Soulscar Mage and the Monastery Swiftspear. And we'll get into that in a second here with the next card that I added in here. And then Pyretic Rituals, how I can actually get the Dreadhorde Arcanist and be able to throw the Sandwich Sprint or the Kick in the Door on them on turn 2. Because for 1 red and 1 colorless, you get 3 red mana in your mana pool. So I'm able to use that, which also pumps up the Swiftspear or the Soulscar Mage, which are probably already on the board from the first turn. So we get to cast this and then attack with the Dreadhorde Arcanist and then recast either the Sprint or the Kick in the Door to give either permanent counters or instant counters on them again. Now the other big thing that I put in here that just really makes the deck unbelievably combo-rific is Harmonic Prodigies from MH2. This guy is a wizard with prowess, so that's awesome. And if an ability of a shaman or another wizard you control, the ability triggers an additional time. If an ability of a shaman or another wizard you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Yeah, I can read. I'm awake. Anyways, the Harmonic Prodigy, what it does is on your Soulscar Mages, which are wizards, when it hits the prowess trigger because you cast an instant or sorcery, it doubles the prowess. So it's instead of +1/+1, you get +2/+2. You get 2 +1/+1s. And then if you have 2 Harmonic Prodigies in play, they're going to help each other double trigger as well. So you'll double trigger their prowesses. And if you got 2 of them in play, you're going to triple trigger the Soulscar Mage prowess. Or the Dreadhorde Arcanist, which is also a wizard, you're going to double trigger his ability when he attacks. So if you got like a Lightning Bolt in the graveyard and a Sandwich Sprint in the graveyard and you attack with the Dreadhorde Arcanist, you can recast both of them. So that's huge. The Harmonic Prodigy for a 2-drop for a 1/3. Great addition to this deck. And this is one of the reasons that I'm thinking about putting 4 Soulscar Mages back in and taking out one of the Swiftspears, even though I love the fact that the Swiftspear is a 1/2 with haste. And the Soulscar Mages don't have haste, which is the big downside of them. They are wizards, so they will double trigger off the Harmonic Prodigy or triple trigger if you get a couple out. So between the Dreadhorde Arcanist and the Soulscar Mage and the Harmonic Prodigy, that's just, you can start on turn 2 or 3, you can start really pumping up the prowess triggers and really pumping up the creatures and getting a lot of damage through really quick. So that's kind of my main combo with the deck there. You know, all that stuff triggers. Everything's instants or sorceries. The Kick in the Door, the only downside is that it's a sorcery, so you do have to do it before combat. But you're going to do it on the Dreadhorde Arcanist as soon as you cast it anyway, so it's not like it's a big deal. But that's going to trigger your prowess on that on the Soulscar Mage, and if you got a Prodigy out, that's going to double trigger, and it's going to double trigger the Arcanist. So I mean, there's just so much going on with it. It's really quite incredible. And you know, the biggest thing is, of course, running out of cards in your hand. So the light up the stages are huge for that. And that's one of the reasons I love this Sandwich Sprint on the Dreadhorde Arcanist, because you can cast that, light up the stage, recast it, get more cards out that you can play. For lands, I'm actually only running 19. I'm running just the 12 mountains, basic lands. And then I'm running, I'm only running 2 or 3, let me see, how many? 2 of the Ramming Up Ruins from the Pioneer deck. I took out the other 2 because they're just kind of a, you know, 4 mana is, by the time you get to 4 mana, you're probably pretty much got the game on lock. So it's not something that I was using a whole lot. I think I might have actually popped one time in all the games I played in the tournament. I've got 3 Castle Embriths in here though, because these are pretty good. For the 3, giving all your creatures an extra +1. Sometimes that can finalize the game right there. And all you need is 1 mountain into play, and they come into play untapped. And the other 2 I got a couple Shatter Skull Smashings in here, just to use for, well, I'll pull one out here. They're the modal lands, so you can pay 3 life, and it comes into play untapped as a mountain if you're kind of mana locked, because we don't have a lot of lands in here. We're only running 19 lands, but it's monocolors, and you only need 3 lands. You pretty much probably can win the game. So there was some times that I actually did use it as like a little shock or something, you know, do 1 or 2 points of damage to a creature that's causing me problems, or a planeswalker, finish off a planeswalker with it. But it's just basically in there because it does work as a land, but it helps you to not get flooded out as much with lands, to where, like, if you're just, you know, you're drawing a bunch of lands in a row, at least if you draw one of these, it's something you can use for something other than just a land. So I do love those modal lands. I'm thinking about actually putting, because I have so much scry ability, and I found myself ended up scrying like 3 times in one turn for the scry 1 between the quick kick in the door and the Sandwich Sprints being recast from the graveyard. I'm actually thinking about putting a bunch of fetch lands in here, even though it's a monocolored deck. If I scry and don't like really what's on the top there, the first time I can, you know, use the fetch land and cycle it out. I don't know. I'm thinking about putting fetch lands in there just to kind of help shuffle the deck up a little bit when I kind of hit a rough area. But it also thins out the deck, gets a few more cards out of there, so I don't have to worry about getting landed out, because there was a couple times I'd pull like 2 lands in a row, and that kind of hurts with a deck like this where you're not running a lot of land because you don't need a lot of land. I really need spells, get spells out and more creatures out. So anyways, that's the deck. That's what I kind of did to upgrade that Pioneer deck into Modern pretty inexpensively. Like I said, there's really not anything expensive in the deck. I mean, the Arcanists are like $1, our Prodigies are $1 or $2, Bone Crushers are a couple bucks, you know. So there's really not, and the rest of it's all pretty much commons. The Pyretic Rituals and the Metamorphose obviously are a little bit costly, but they're, you know, common cards that most people are going to have a couple laying around anyway. So, and you could go 4 Pyretic Rituals if you want the ramp. I use a couple Metamorphoses because I want the card draw. And same thing there. You could go 4 Metamorphose for the card draw, but you don't have any ramp that way because Metamorphose costs 2 and it only gives you 2. And because you're monocolor, you're always going to go red anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You don't need it for the color transference or whatever. So let me know what you guys think of this in the comments below, and what you would do to tweak it to make it a little more effective. Like I said, I'm probably going to take out a Swift Spear and put in another Soulscar Mage. I am thinking about putting, instead of Play with Fires, putting the Wizard's Lightnings in, because I've got so much scry ability with the other cards here. So I am thinking about doing that, putting the Wizard's Lightning in, because there's so many wizards. I'm probably going to have a wizard in play, and then it's a lightning bolt basically. But let me know what you guys would do. I'll take a look at the sideboard really quick. I kind of threw the sideboard together really fast, so, and there's a lot of people running Tron, so there's just mainly a lot of anti-artifact stuff. Like the You Find Some Prisoners I love as a sideboard card for anti-artifact, because not only does it destroy an artifact, but you can exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library, choose one of them until end of your next turn. You may play that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So that's pretty awesome, because you'd actually takes away the top 3 cards of your opponent's library, and you actually get to play one. So it gives you a free card, and you're really hurting them, especially if they're running one of those decks that they tend to top deck the card they're gonna need for the next turn. If they top deck a card, you can make sure you can get rid of it with you find some prisoners. So I got 3 of those on the sideboard. I got a couple cursed totems in case any activated abilities were causing me problems. A couple shattering sprees because, like I said, a lot of people are running a lot of artifact heavy stuff. Got a blood moon and some void mirrors and a couple magus of the moons. 3 of them, and a Tibalt. I'm probably going to put another Tibalt, maybe take out one of the Maguses. I don't know. Let me know what you guys would do in the comments below. I'm still kind of working on it. I need to play test it and tweak it some more, but it's cheap, simple upgrade. You don't need the Shatter Skull Smashings. Those are the only mythics in here. The only thing over a couple bucks really in here, aside from the Manamorphose. Which I think those are kind of come down quite a bit too because of the reprint and double masters there. I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Check out the description below as well. There's a lot of good sales on stuff right now on Amazon. If you use those links, it really helps out the channel. A lot of good everything down there is going to save you money or get you cash back for free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's all good stuff. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and love to hear from you. And thank you so much for your time. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.